everybody, we're back at the vertical table with the illustrious Pittsburgh Pat. Pretty sure he's above me right now. Links to Pat's YouTube channel, which is subdivided into several layers of geekdom, a bit of a big collection of different things, but a lot of D&D content and TTRPG content on there.
It's like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, right?
Yeah,
Or Xanathar's Guide to Everything.
yeah, a little of this, little of that.
Yeah.
Um,
But a lot of D&D. So like, yeah, that's what we've been focusing on here. So what a great, I'm like honored to know somebody that's spent this much time creating a book of this magnitude, which is going to be so useful too for me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I naively thought it would take less time. Of
Writing
course,
always takes more time.
that's the way it goes. So I should say, so this is the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation, written by me, one Ryan Doyle, available right now on Drive-Through RPG. So go grab it. I naively thought I would get better and better and faster at creating these. I make a two-page spread, which we're about to dive into. And I was actually slower and slower going because I didn't want to repeat myself.
Mm,
And your first 100 ideas and the next 1,000 ideas, it takes time to refill the well with new ideas when you've
mm.
dumped out the first, the easy 2,000. And it starts to like, all right, it's a little more of checksum, whatever. That's inside baseball talk.
No,
So
I
we,
mean that's something I think people can relate to, though. I mean,
yeah,
I knew a girl who was studying yoga, and her instructor told her to make a gratitude list. Oh, yeah, no problem. Make a gratitude list. Say 10 things you're grateful for. She said, no, 1,000. 1,000 things you're grateful for. And don't stop. Do it all in one sitting. She's like, what? But what ended up happening was Joe started to, well, I'm grateful for my hand. Whoa, wait, I'm grateful for this finger. Wait, I'm grateful for this finger, this finger, this finger. You know what I mean? I'm grateful for my fingernails. Grateful for this. What it did was it made her focus on all the little tiny things that are all interconnected that she was grateful for. And so, you know, it's same with this kind of thing. All this content in here is interconnected,
mm,
right? And so it's interconnected, but you don't want to actually repeat the same. So you need an editor because you don't want to repeat the same phrase, because then somebody will be like, wait, you used that on page 33. So that's the tough part of writing
yeah.
this
And
kind of
shout
thing.
out to Stacy for doing just that. There was a couple times where she's like, I read this before.
Mhm.
You
Now
did
you
this
gotta go find
exact
it.
you did this exact thing in this exact place 30 spreads ago.
That's
So,
right.
um, and there's definitely similarities. Some are inevitable, some are purposeful, let's say, because it gives you they're sticky, they connect. But we have decided, or Pat has decided, to roll up on a fortune teller today.
Yeah, I've never played a fortune teller before. I don't know why now. Sounds awesome.
So let us.
All right. So
Why is
I
that not fit?
need
There we go. That's a better fit.
fours, sixes. I need all my dice. Okay,
I'm gonna
cool.
ask you to roll one of everything.
Okay.
Not a D100. So you can roll a D100 to select a character if nothing speaks to you, or an
Mhm.
archetype, I should say. But 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 20. And we can do it one at a time if that's better for you organizationally wise. But
And
there's a tactile pleasure in just like throwing all your dice in the bin at once.
that's what I'm doing.
I would strongly recommend it. Yeah.
All right. So you want the D4 first?
No, that might have been smart,
No.
but D20, we start off with the
Oh,
swingingest.
D20. My fault.
D20 is gonna
6.
6. So this is your drive, dream, aspiration. This is the character's motivation. What's making them tick to a degree. Regain reputation after being found to fake.
So Dion Warwick, or what was the lady from was that it? Psychic Friends Network? Yeah. How did
Hmm.
they not know they were going to go bankrupt?
Oh man. Yeah,
Um,
so yeah, speak to that. What does that say to you? Because I'm sparking
yeah,
ideas.
no, that's great. I mean, that's great. I think, okay, so like I'm thinking of Whoopi Goldberg's character in Ghost, where she is a fake. She knows she's a fake, but then all of a sudden she sees a real ghost. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, I want to steal that. That's a great idea, I think, and hasn't been done in years. Um, I'm showing my age. But yeah, yeah, that's I'm liking that. I'm also liking when I saw fortune teller, the iconic fortune teller that I thought of was the one from Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure, the
Gumby?
one that tells him to go to the to Alamo.
Oh, I thought the movie, not the Pee-wee's Playhouse. I was thinking of the
The
genie
movie.
in the
Oh
box.
yeah. Oh yeah. That's even better. I forgot about that. Yeah, I've watched Pee Wee's Playhouse. I'm not well versed in it, but Pee Wee's Big Adventure I've seen so many times. And yeah, so that's what I was thinking of, because as a DM, I feel that way sometimes, where she's looking for like, what's the character's name? Like, Al and Mo, Alamo, like I'm doing that sometimes when I'm not fully prepared. That's something I need to do is have a list of NPC character names.
Yeah, I hear you got a new Dungeon Master screen. That's a great place for one of those. That's in my DM's kit.
Yeah, that's where I need to put it. Yeah, should I show you that or should we save that? So
Yeah, I mean, I'm always interested
so I
in
got
people's
I
toys.
got this one, which is like basically binders with like clear plastic. You can like put your own inserts in.
Mm,
This is like $10. And it's probably not the sturdiest thing, but it's got 4 panels on each side.
hmm
So that's nice. So on the outside, I give pictures of the NPCs or the types of monsters that the players are going to encounter. And I also have this handy kind of what can you do on your turn kind of thing, which I just made into a video, which has gotten 1,000 views already.
Oh,
I'm going to
nice.
go into more detail with that because I think people really forget that they can do more than just move and attack on their turn. And
Yes.
then on the inside, I have all my stat sheets. So for the different opponents they're going to encounter, but never the
Hmm.
big baddie. I always hide the big baddie in case somebody gets a sneak peek at my screen.
Yeah, I learned last episode that Pat I don't actually have I don't use a Dungeon Master screen lately. I have one for like reference, but I roll in the open. But yeah, Pat was watching me like check clocks, like fill clocks last
I have
couple
wandering
sessions
eyes.
ago. I
Yeah.
don't blame you. So I like that, especially in the context of a D&D character too. Like before, like I don't know what class we're rolling up or subclass or anything, but like the progression from level 0 to level 1, magic turns on, right? Like if this is some sort of divination
Yeah,
magic or
right.
something. So like you used to be a fake and then it becomes real.
We
Perhaps
really don't talk about that in D&D much. Like, where does your magic come from? Maybe a little bit. Like, is it animism? Like, if you're a druid, is it from nature? Is it divine? Is it a pact? Right? If you're a warlock, but we don't explore that moment because we're already heroes. So
Mhm.
that could be a nice moment. Zero, like session point 5.
Mhm.
Where like, when does it happen? When's the first instance you have with like, oh my God, I could read that animal's thoughts? you
Well,
know
actually, interestingly enough, what you get on the D12, because this is our catalyst, our call to adventure. Why are we no longer a
I
fortune
got a
teller?
2.
The signs all points to them taking action.
Huh. Okay. So it's like get up off your duff and do something. Hmm.
And I feel like getting caught as a fake maybe it
Yeah, you get run
is a
out of
sign.
town. Like I gotta get out. I gotta skedaddle. We gotta like get in the bum's rush if I don't leave now. So gather your things, put it on the wagon, and go.
Maybe it's
Like
not the first time we've been chased out of town.
the character in The Wizard of Oz that Dorothy meets before the tornado hits, right?
Hmm.
Who's the traveling medicine man, or well, he's got a crystal ball, right?
Yeah, that's a divination wizard. He's a fortune
Yeah,
teller.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. See, isn't it fun how like all of these things that are in our collective memory, they start to surface once you do this sort of stuff, once you roll on a table, once you talk about it with another human being. And then because I don't know if I would have come up with that sitting here alone trying to write it up, but being able to synergize, boom, all of a sudden the Wizard of Oz came up.
Yeah, I
Huh.
love that. And I mean that's the at the heart of this is like I didn't want it here's 100 cool characters that you could be. Like no, here's 100 engines that build characters because creates connections in your mind that I would never think of, like it's an engine. It's not the thing in
Yep.
itself. It creates it.
Very cool.
Um, all right, D8 is going to be the potential character arc, room for growth. You don't want to come into a D&D game knowing your character story start to finish. You're going to discover that at the table, just like we were saying. It's a storytelling engine. It's not the story itself. But
So I
have
rolled a 3. So that's
three,
a what does it say?
fearing limits of foresight to embracing them.
So I'm going from fearing my abilities really not real or I'm not competent at it to being like, okay, let's see where this is going to take me. Hmm. Hmm.
Well, that could be your magical abilities, which is what I thought of first. But you've
Yeah,
created some sort of like, or we've and the table have created a bit of a con artist character to start. So
right,
maybe the
right.
limits of foresight, as far as like your ability to control people and the situation, right? Like you seek out magic not because you want to know the future or get rich quick or whatever. Like you never want to be chased out of town again. um,
Yeah.
to like realizing that you can't necessarily control every situation with your
Well, this could
charisma.
be pretty profound. So, like, it could be a character who does run from town to town. It could be that kind of old West marshal, like sheriff kind of story where there's a gunslinger who just goes from town to town to town, but at some point there's someone who needs his particular skill, and so he stays and becomes the sheriff. So maybe it's something like that where, you know, this is a traveling, you know, caravan or it's a cart and it's one person, the fortune teller moves from place to place because they use it up. And then finally at some point those her particular talents are needed. So what would be a good, I wonder if it's coming up, like what would be the big threat that she would be able to intercede and aid the community with,
Yeah,
right?
so this the second page of the spread is more the dungeon master
Okay.
world building side of things.
All right, then I won't even try to
Um,
speculate on that yet.
no,
But
well, it's
that's
good.
kind of the
I think
setup.
it's good to come like from the with the player's hat on. I think it's good to think about these things in a
Mhm.
very open-ended way, right? Like I am either A, I'm approaching the dungeon master pre session pre-campaign and saying like here's this character, here's the places where there are blanks, like how does this fit into your world, and the DM might be like, well, this is close, and if you change this about your thing and I change this about my thing, boom, we have a very compelling story here.
Nice.
Or sometimes like it doesn't material, there's a potential, right? So I should also
Hmm.
say if you roll a result and you hate it, maybe do the opposite, or you re-roll, or if something jumps off the table at you, you rolled a 3, but 8 is like that's perfect. You have my permission as the creator
Sure,
to take 8.
sure, sure. I mean, that's the way it works with the five D&D 5e character generation with bonds, flaws, that sort of thing. You read the table and you're like,
Mm,
oh no, 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 this one's perfect, you
yeah,
know? And then if you don't, then you just roll. Or maybe you just, you know, challenge yourself and roll and try to play that character. All
yeah.
right, so friendly factions. I got a 4.
All right. The gatherers collect rare herbs used in spells,
That makes
incense,
sense.
potions, and poisons.
Well, that just goes right to the character. Yeah, that's fantastic. So an herbalist, so maybe there's some magic involved, but maybe that's actually based in science, based in botany, based in like what her grandmother taught her or what his father taught him. If he's carrying on a family tradition, maybe it's type of thing where old witches, witch tales in actual medieval history where you had to keep it on the down low because people would ostracize you for having this arcane knowledge. And because it involves poisons, it can be used, for good or ill. So you had good reason to keep it secret. So now it's starting to flesh out. Now it's starting to make sense as to why this character is an iterant traveler as opposed to grounded in the community because of necessity. Maybe the universe around is fearful of people who are able to heal because that seems like magic to them, even though they're using natural herbs.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I like grounding things in realism as much as you can. And then yeah, science, like knowledge, science. What's the? Oh man,
Knowledge brings fear.
no, well, no, knowledge makes fear, but the
That's
that's yeah, that's true too. Actually,
Futurama.
ignorance is bliss.
That
But
was the quote over top of Mars University in Futurama. Knowledge brings fear, which is perfect for Mars, right? Because Phobos is literally fear,
mhm.
right? And Deimos, the other moon of Mars, is terror, if I remember my Greek correctly. So yeah,
Futurama is the smartest, dumbest show. That's the second Futurama
it's
reference we
so
pulled.
those writers are so smart.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. I don't know if it's the first episode or one of the first episodes I watched, but there's a horse race and they like measure it's a photo finish and they measure it down to the quantum level. And the professor's like, you changed the results by measuring them. It was just like, this is my new favorite show.
Yeah,
They made a quantum
yeah.
physics joke.
Oh my God.
So good. Oh
Yes.
man. All right.
It's what Big Bang Theory wanted to be.
Yeah. They play D&D on that show. It has its moments. It wasn't my
I like
favorite.
Big Bang Theory.
Um, D6. So we're gonna drill down a little bit. We're gonna have
Oh,
a friendly
four
NPC.
again. Yeah, also
Right.
four.
Clement Roux runs a lavish restaurant and hires diviners and others to entertain their clientele.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a definite connection, right? So I'm gathering sage, I'm gathering like
Hmm.
rosemary, I'm gathering herbs that could be used in cooking. So there could be a element there. Also, I get to use the kitchen, right? So I get to make my dishes and that sort of thing. And also I can already see a complication because maybe I make one of my more noxious potions and I forget to clean the pot. And then something bad happens to a customer or an employee or whatnot, they have a bad reaction to a meal or something, it gets found out and I have to run again, or something like that.
Hmm.
I've
Hmm.
actually got this idea for a character in Adventure League, 5e Adventure League, who is a bard, but it's a bard who is a chef. I want to take the chef beat and then I want to incorporate like uh, the inspiration, like when you give bardic inspiration dice, that would be like, here's a homemade pop tart, or here's trail mix, like this special, like it's done organically, like you actually have to eat the snack in order to get the bonus, right? And it's like a double espresso with a shot of energy drink in it, or something. It's like you get extra energy for the next until you crash. Maybe there's a side effect to it as well. Maybe you have caffeine withdrawal after you do it. I don't know. Could be interesting.
I love that. There's a cook in here. There's a cook spread, and I like really there's so much potential there for like
Yeah.
consumables are part of the game. And then like it's so much fun to be like, here's this perfect little amuse bouche. Here's a tiny cupcake.
Right.
Like this is
Right.
the vehicle for the
Taste
power.
this truffle. It is perfect. It will inspire
Mm,
you to defeat the enemy. And
mm.
it's like they did redo the bard. I heard some talk about this. We'll find out September in the new player's handbook, dancing bard. And so
Yeah.
why not? Why
Jenny
not?
D,
Let's
I
do
think
the
Jenny D
cooking.
did a
That might
video.
be where I saw it. I do
Yeah.
watch her stuff. Yeah.
So she oh, she she's a tier above. And
Yeah, she
she got
plays D&D in castles in Europe and stuff. Like,
yeah. I
how do
mean
I get on board for that, man? I
she's
want to go on that trip.
yeah, well, we keep doing this, I hope. Um, but Wizards of the Coast did give some people. I don't know if I would want an NDA with Wizards of the Coast right now anyway. Maybe that's sour grapes. But some people have previewed more of the player's handbook, and they did it in a very focused way. And I think that was the subclass that she had. But anyway, I like that. I like especially bards, but like flavor's free, baby.
Yeah,
You want to make it into a chef, like if you have a realistic way of doing that and it's not just some weird backdoor power gaming move, then like yeah, I'm here for it. Do it.
cool.
Yeah, you want Fireball to be Ice Ball because you want to make an ice wizard and it's not in the book, like yeah, we'll figure out
Right.
what that is.
That's you can reskin things, right? So
Yeah.
like, I think that's important. I think it allows the player to own their character.
Yeah. All right. This is the one thing that's like Gradiated. So what'd you get on the D10?
10.
Oh, that okay. So big number, good here. The Fate Weaver's Scarf allows one die to be rolled again once per day.
Oh, wow. That's pretty exciting.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's like the lucky 1/3 of the lucky fee.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great.
That's a good one. And honestly,
Do you ever ban lucky at your table?
um,
I never banned it, but I've
I've
strongly
considered it.
suggested people to say like, do you want to win all the time?
Right, right.
You
It
know?
is cheesy. I had someone just take it, but we are playing. They took it at level 12. No,
Oh,
they
okay.
took it to level 8. They took it to level 8.
So it's
But
like a
we're
legendary action
right.
for a dragon or
They didn't
something.
start with it, and we're playing like I've handed out so many magic items. Like we're this is our last hurrah in 5e. We're
Mhm.
fairly high level now. It's actually Shattered Obelisk, and we're like in the end game now. So everyone is like crazy OP, and it's like I can balance the monsters, no problem. I'm worried about balance between characters, and that part you can't
Mhm.
change
Mhm.
from behind the dungeon master screen without doing some without nerfing somebody or getting real crazy. But like if
This is a
all
mechanic that I hope they address in the player's handbook, right? So like
what's that?
fighters,
Mhm.
okay, so like martial characters don't seem to scale as well as at higher levels as magic users, right? So like,
Correct. It's
right,
linear progression versus exponential or
logarithmic,
quadratic.
yeah,
Yeah,
whatever
wizards.
you
Yeah,
want to call it. Yeah. So yeah, it's something that has to be addressed. Like, why wouldn't a fighter get better at their fighting skill and therefore be able to progress? They just get you can only get so strong, and so you can only hit so hard, and the weapon doesn't. So you have to give them better weapons
right.
in order to make that happen, right?
They again, it's where we haven't seen all of every
No,
page of the player's
no,
handbook.
but whoever's watching,
The
we're gonna be doing a lot of those videos because
it's I mean yeah,
we're
yeah
gonna dig deep on that.
it's coming. The weapon masteries feels like part of feels like an interesting way to help marshals. There's some concern that that's going to grind things to a halt at the table.
Yeah,
I think there's
because
ways.
fighters already get a lot of actions when they get like higher
Yeah,
levels.
I think again, I haven't done the deep dive on it. I think like the golf bag, right? The Casey Jones effect, where it's like I hit him with this weapon, then this weapon, then this weapon, then this weapon. It's like
The
okay, you get one free action. Like you can only
Swiss
change out
Army
one.
knife approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn to turn, then maybe that's one thing. But in the same turn, I'm gonna nick and then bleed and then like whatever the so yeah, so I will say if
Well,
you're
that could
using
be fun. I mean, that could be like if you have one character at the table like that, not like seven, but
right.
like it could be like remember the duel between the gosh, it's the Pablo, who's the guy that plays the Mandalorian? He was the actor. He was in Game
My
of
God.
Thrones, and he plays this character where he's up against the mountain, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
And he has all the quick moves, right? So he can do that. He can nick the mountain in the leg and the this and the that, and he has like 5 attacks, but the mountain only needs one, and that's to crush his skull, right?
Pablo
So
Pascal.
like
That was I
Pablo
yeah,
Pascal,
I knew that in my until you asked me. I was like,
of course. Yeah,
file
I'm
not found.
sorry, didn't mean to
Uh,
put him on the
no,
spot.
it's fine. That's not yeah, I
This,
wasn't blaming
yeah.
you. I don't yeah, I don't
We
like
don't
mis
have that Jeopardy recall that we used to when we were in our early 30s.
or fun. Well, yeah, part of it's age too, but part of it's relying on, technology to remember things for me now.
Oh yeah, we do become
Yeah.
reliant on it's like the internet remembers. Why would I need to remember that? I'll
Exactly.
remember something different. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm. All
Um,
right, cool. We got the fortune tellers built.
yeah, so what do you think? Do you have
Oh,
like
how do I incorporate that luck thing?
no, well, just like
Ah,
species and like
oh,
class,
species.
subclass, like how do you like rounding out this character now that you have a pretty good like concept? What do you see for this character?
So I was seeing the human woman, but let me think about that more that you mentioned that because I didn't think about species or subclass. Hmm. So divination, obviously with the fortune telling, uh, I would think that's like the easy way to go with it. But I'm thinking like maybe with this lucky scarf thing, and with the emergence of this, maybe there's a little bit of a uh, higher power, like a spiritual entity. Maybe there's a demigoddess or a goddess or a god who says, "Okay, I'm going to play with this. You think you are a fortune teller? Okay, I'm going to give you a little taste of the real thing
Mm,
and see what you do with that." Maybe it's like almost like a Loki. Maybe it's almost like uh, a chaos god,
I
or
like
who's
that.
like I'm going to give it to you. Sometimes, other times I'm not. I'm just going to mess with your mind, and then you're going to think it's you, and then maybe at some point there's a great reveal where it's. So I think I would go into a pantheon and look up some gods that would fit that description, and then I think that would inform me. So if it were a druid, like if let's say it were a patron of it were a god that's known as like kind of a patron of druids or something, maybe that would inform it. And this seems to go druidic a little bit with the herbs and stuff,
Okay.
so maybe that way. And then, or maybe it's a and if it's an elvish god of that doesn't seem like an elvish god, maybe it's a oh, I don't know,
I'm
that's
getting
a
real
great
like
question.
moon weaver, like lunar, right? That has like
Okay.
waxing and waning and like fortune telling, but also like maybe
Oh,
trickstery, capriciousness,
that's
mercurial.
fantastic, because that could explain it. It could be like biorhythms. It explains
Mm,
why sometimes you can do it and why sometimes you can't. And until this character figures out that there's a cycle, right? So maybe it is linked to the moon phase. That's wonderful. And that would be something that maybe this character would find out organically, because you have to harvest these herbs maybe at night. So you have to go out when you can see. So you go out when the moon is brighter, or maybe mandrake root only flowers, on the third full moon of the year. It's the best time to harvest, because back in the day, that's how farmers, that's why farmers named all the moons, right?
mm.
So they knew when to plant, when to sow, when to reap, when to water, when to put the scarecrow out. I don't know. I'm not a farmer. But I oversimplified farming just for everyone there. But yeah, I mean, like, but I'm thinking of like old timey, not low tech, um, mystical, trying to understand the universe through those kinds of eyes, right? Rhythms, ebbs
Yes,
and flows, kind of thing.
I like that. And that's, I mean, part of,
So I don't know what kind of race or species that would be. And by the way, are they going to just call it species in the new book? Is
I
that
think
what
that's
the
where we
official name is?
landed.
Is that where they are?
Ancestry is Pathfinders, and I
Ancestry.
like that. It's kin. Is it kin in Dolmenwood? I think
Hmm.
it's kin in Dolmenwood. Yeah, I think getting away from race is smart.
Yeah, it just doesn't mean
Um,
what it meant in the 70s. It's not the same. It's
words
not, it
word
doesn't have the original meaning in
right.
the context. It's taken on a whole new layer of meaning. So you can't, let's just get rid of it.
Words evolve, society evolves,
Yeah,
change is inevitable.
yeah,
Accept it.
sure.
Sorry.
It's life. It's life. It happens.
It's life. If you're mad about it,
Well, change.
go
I mean,
outside for a while.
words change so quickly now because just technology allows that to happen now. So the standardization of words, you would think like, oh, well, now everybody communicates with each other. Words are all the same, but we as human beings, we twist them and change them and form new ones, and sometimes don't even use them. We use emojis, and emojis change meanings, and
Yeah.
oh, I never thought those two arms were hugging. I always thought that meant like high five or like great job or something, and so when you see it in context and someone else, and someone else is using it, I still don't understand emoji language to a great degree. I stick to the same 4 or 5.
Well, thumbs up is they're trying is scary for some people, or so it's like dismissive for some people to receive it as, which was like universally like, I read this, okay, I agree, okay, and
It's like a check mark.
now it's like, yeah, buddy, you know.
Oh,
But like
see,
it's all about like your context, your social
I
circle.
didn't
I
know
think,
that. Yeah,
yeah, well, I
yeah,
mean, it's not true for everybody, but it's like
yeah,
the younger people perceive it as
yeah.
a slight, and older people do it all the time because we've been doing it for 20 years or 10
Well, the
years.
classic one is the peace sign, right? So like that, if you do a peace sign, that meant something from like what, the 60s, I guess, or the
Hmm.
early 70s. And but if you do it this way and you make an upward motion, then that means that's a defiant action. And that's, I've heard, comes from Agincourt, right? So like The French didn't like the longbowmen, the English longbowmen. So if they captured them, they cut their fingers off. The first two
Yeah.
fingers to pull a string with. So when the English defeated the French in 1415 at Agincourt, apparently they said, look, we've got our fingers. This is how we beat you. And so
Mhm.
now that's become an act of defiance. And it's
Yeah.
actually, I think, a little bit vulgar in some cultures as well. But but that vulgarity was layered over top of that action. The original action was not meant to be in any way vulgar. It was meant to be defiant and victorious, right? So
Yeah. And I think if you are you're fighting against the tide if you're like, that's not what it meant in 1983. It's like, okay,
right, you can't
cool,
enforce it. You're not the Académie
acknowledged.
Française, right?
And you're not, and I think on the flip side, it's like you're not a bad person because the context has changed in over the course of decades, right?
Right.
It's like, yeah, we're
Yeah,
very
I
deaf.
mean, intent. You always, I mean, I've always assumed, I always assume good intent.
Mm,
I'm not saying that there always is good intent, but I always assume good intent until I'm proven wrong. You know,
that's a good philosophy. I'm from New York, so it took me a while to readjust.
it's hard. No, it's hard. It's hard to
Yeah.
do that, but because our
Uh,
brains are designed to remember the negative things. Because in a survival situation, the negative things are what's going to kill you. So
yes.
there can be 10 positive things. Yeah, that's a lovely flower, but uh, that swarm of bees on those flowers is going to come and hit. I've been stung before. I know that that's bad. So it's a survival thing. It's just the way our brains are, and we have to fight it constantly.
Yeah. And that's why we can escape into fantasy and D&D because
Exactly.
yeah.
And let that stuff inform us. So, like, I don't know how we got off that topic. Okay, that's gonna get edited out. What's
Nope,
next?
it all stays in. It's all gold. It's all gold. All right, so we have a pretty juicy character with a lot of like facets to
Yeah,
them.
we just don't know what species, but I'll roll on a table for that somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's doable. And I like this like female uh maybe druidic or like nature spell leaning. I thought
Yes,
you were going like warlock there for a second.
I
Divination wizards
was
right there,
a
but
little
like
bit, but I think I'm gonna go druid. Druid, it's softer. It seems less because wizards know there's magic,
oh yeah.
right? They know it. They study it. You know, uh, warlock, maybe if it's a non-communicative deity that you sort of have an implied pact with, that could possibly work. But druid, I like the idea of this character discovering her abilities and being wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes.
considering like it's funny going in and thinking it's all natural and like it's actually magic some of the time.
Right, some
Um,
of the time, but not
yeah.
being able to ascertain when that's going to happen. So this unreliable magic. So now there's this whole faith. You could bring in this whole like, yeah, you could bring in this whole like doubt and faith kind of thing, which could be really interesting to play around.
Because there is fearing the limits of our foresight to embracing them. So like
Right, that's the journey.
that clicks in pretty nicely now, actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool.
Cool. All right, we're gonna switch hats here real quick, and we're gonna go to the next page, which is the dungeon master side of things.
Sweet.
I'm gonna put on my headphones because my speaker system some weird stuff.
Anytime I get to roll dice, I like it.
Uh,
That's the other thing about DMing is that you don't always have to roll the dice. You don't always have to make characters roll dice, but if they like to roll dice, let them roll the dice. Doesn't matter, right? Just let them roll the dice.
yes, yes, okay.
Or you roll the dice and don't tell them why. That's always fun too. Just put the character screen up and roll a die randomly while somebody's talking. Go, uh-huh. I'm sorry, what were you saying? That is always that's terrible. You unnerve your players that way, but
Put the
some,
fear. Well, that's
sometimes
what.
it's fun.
Yeah, I do that. Actually, now I haven't done that in a while because I'm making checks all the time in Dolmenwood, which is nice.
Yeah.
Every 10 minutes I'm rolling encounters, I'm rolling all sorts of stuff.
Oh, here we go. Thematic monsters.
Yeah, so I am going to ask you to roll 4d6 as is tradition. And again, we could do them one at a time or we can do them all at once.
I think I got four here.
Excuse me.
1, 2, 3,
And now we're kind of like sketching out an adventure outline, or perhaps just elements that will plug into a pre-existing adventure that we're running. Or, in theory, you have 4 or 5 characters at the table, 5 players
Mhm.
at the table, so we can kind of like mix and match, so everyone's getting little elements. And we were talking about sharing the spotlight, chances to shine.
I am
Um,
ready.
Cool. So our first D6 is an antagonistic organization. So this is a
Ah,
faction that does not love us. Maybe they want us dead. Maybe it's just an annoyance. Which
number 4.
number 4? The Shadow Hands, crime
Ah,
syndicate, strong-armed diviners into helping them plan heists. Interesting.
huh. Okay. Maybe we're gonna knock over the restaurant. All right. 5.
That's got some juice. What do we got? Five
Oh, you
for
want to talk about the antistic organization or and incorporate that yet? Let's
uh
get a couple and
your
see if
call.
we
Your show.
can let's get a couple and see if we can weave them together.
Okay, so the rival enemy is an NPC, so that could tie in pretty nicely. You said
Okay, so
5?
that's 5. So
Nice.
crazy.
Crazy Laz. Much of what he sells is fenced for Thieves Guild, and he fears being found out. So that was a bit of divination magic on your part. I feel like that. I don't know if he's part of the Shadow Hands or has a pretty good working relationship
He
with
wants to be
them.
part and he's trying to get in and he's in, half out maybe and it says what he sells.
So a fence, maybe that's a weird term, but that's like it's a pawn
No, no,
shop.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much of what he sells is fenced for the Thieves Guild, and he fears being found out.
It's more my eyesight than anything. And my small screen. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. So okay, so like yeah. So I'm thinking he's either an acolyte or he wants to be he wants to be a level 1 in this Thieves Guild but he's he's still afraid that he doesn't have the protection of the guild. So he's trying to get in because he's afraid the local constabulary are going to nab him.
Interesting.
Maybe something like that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And he's got
It's like darned if you do, darned if you don't, because you know what I mean? Like he doesn't have any other way that he knows to make money, so he has to do this, but the guild doesn't really want him either because he's crazy. He's erratic. He's not reliable, and they don't want him drawing attention to them. So, or they have like an uneasy pact with the law, and you know, you stay on your turf, we'll stay on ours. And he's crossing the line. Maybe he's one of these guys that's you know upsetting the system. You know, the
yeah,
balance.
he's like hiring criers to do these like weird advertisements, and he's just like too much heat. Yeah, that's what I forgot. I kind of
Stolen goods over here.
Uh-huh.
You can get anything at Crazy Larry's, you know. Yeah. All right.
Oh,
1 or
evocative location. The Pitch Observatory. Magic snuffs out all light sources here to aid in studying the stars.
oh yeah, it's a great place for a thief, right? So like a pickpocket or somebody that's hiding their stash of stolen goods, hide it at the observatory.
Mm,
It's gonna be hard for people to find it in the magical darkness. Maybe he has some way, or he just knows the exact location, like 10 steps this way, 2 steps this way, 5 steps this way. He knows how to get to his stash in the dark, but someone else would have to stumble across it. You know, they wouldn't be able to find it even if they tried without magic. Hmm.
that would be a very interesting exercise in play. Because my first impulse was like, I want to run this battle map. It's like I want a planetarium and like magical darkness. Everything's a disadvantage. Use all these spells that you wouldn't otherwise. Like all this interesting stuff. But like one step removed from that, like your character can't see. So there, I'm not putting a map down. This is theater of the mind. You go 10 feet this way, you hit a wall.
Yeah, because if you use a
Track it.
map, yeah, then people are going to be able to do it. So you have to do it in your mind, and that's kind of poignant actually, uh, because talking to the real game store owner Phil and how
Mm,
he navigates his
mm.
space because he's sightless, so he's sight impaired, and so I asked him about that one time. I said, "Do you have a mental map in your head?" And he's like, "Absolutely." And it was just really interesting to talk about how he navigates his own space and does things like my mom will tell me that she put merchandise on the shelves. And I'm like, where? Take me there, put my hand on it. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
he has to have a mental memory of where that particular title is. He can't just look and say, well, it's all alphabetical order, right? So yeah, interesting stuff. So that would be a way to kind of experience, in a sense, some of
mm.
what he does every day.
That's
Cool
interesting.
stuff.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. All right, D6, a thematic monster.
5.
5, the white heart of prophecy. The
Ah,
grand elusive beast. It's said its horns will adorn the true king's crown. I mean, that's just like classic Arthurian folkloric vibes.
yeah. I was thinking that, or I was thinking of Harry Potter's Patronus, and
Oh,
like you get to shoot Harry Potter's Patronus, and take the antlers as trophies. Oh, that would be bad, Harry. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's very Arthurian. I love the heart, of course, is, that's medieval England. And then of course anything white, that's just great. And the contrast between that and the magical darkness. So that could be a neat interplay. Like what happens if the white heart enters the
mm.
circle of darkness? Maybe that's how the great reveal comes or something. Maybe there's a power clash there.
And we were given this character like kind of moon-based powers here.
So things are happening at night.
Things are happening at night. I mean, you went druid, like cyclical nature, but like the moon goddess um is, maybe the observatory is like watching her movements or studying the moon or something. Um, and
Yeah.
she's
Maybe she's working in the restaurant because she works from town to town. So like she gets a job as a dishwasher in a restaurant, and then they find out that like she has access to herbs, so she tries to get on the line, and then she after her shift she goes out and collects these things, and it's at night, and so she's like she could actually even be like she doesn't really see the sun very much, so she could actually at some point be a lycanthrope and not know it because like she operates in almost entirely at nighttime.
mm,
Um, could be some interesting stuff there.
yeah, lycanthropy's right there too
Yeah,
when you have moon-based
it's
adventuring.
hard not to go there. It
Yeah.
really is because it's so I want to say romantic with a small R, or with a lot with a capital R. It's that what's out there in the darkness, right?
Yeah.
So the theater of the mind again, the kind of like you know, we, that's why the witch's circle and the actual historical prejudices against witches were, that was part of it was like most people sleep at night because, there are predators out there and we're safe next to our fires. But these people brave the darkness and they thrive in it. And we don't know what they're doing out
Mm,
there, and
mm.
it's scary to us because we don't know. The unknown is always scary to us, right? So what's beyond the campfire, the camp light, you know, a firelight. That's what we fear. So yeah, that would be pretty cool. And then the shadows, I love the idea of I really do like this idea of the pitch observatory. That's a really great way to do that's very almost that could be almost steampunky too. So
Mm.
you've got like some science going on there, right? Maybe with the optics and the mechanics of the moving the telescopes around or the orreries and type of um, that type of study could lend itself to a kind of proto science,
Love
which
a
could be
good
completely
orrery.
wrong as well, which could be fun because like you could have like a Ptolemaic view of the universe that's with epicycles and things that we know now are absolutely false, but that could be what is believed at the time. So there could be this whole wonderful because it's wonderful when you do something with an audience, like in a play, like say a play, where the audience knows they know, but the characters don't. And
Hmm.
there's this wonderful feeling for the audience of kind of superiority in a sense, but it's like they're when do the characters find out that how do they find out the truth, you know? So
And when we're playing D&D, we're like we're acting, right? We're inhabiting a role, but we're also the audience at the same time. So like I like coming into it with like, here's the built-in separation between me, the player, and this character. Like I know this, but the character doesn't. And that I feel like kind of short circuits metagaming because like I acknowledge the possibility of it right away. And that
Yes.
there's a difference between me and this character. And
Yeah,
it's fun.
it's given the soliloquy to the audience, right? It's when, Malvolio or Iago, like, like talks directly to the audience, you know, now we're in on it.
Hmm.
And especially if it's the bad guy, because
Hmm.
now we're complicit.
Yeah,
We
it's
didn't want we didn't want to be. Maybe we were rooting against the bad guy, but now the bad guy's like confiding in us. So now we're conflicted.
yep.
Do we root for the bad guy? Do we not? If he's supremely clever, now we want to see him succeed, sort of. It's like the Day of the Jackal. You ever watch the movie The Day of the Jackal,
Mm,
where
I don't think so.
Edward Fox plays an assassin who's going to kill Charles de Gaulle, and it's he's so crafty at his preparation and his infiltration techniques, and getting an apartment on the route of the parade and getting his gun smuggled in, and this sort of thing. You find yourself at the end going, wait a minute, I'm rooting for this guy. That's evil. This guy's gonna do an evil act, but I'm like waiting to see him because the director puts so much effort into showing you his technique. And at some point you reach that moment where you're like, I should not be rooting for this guy.
Hmm.
This is bad. And so it makes, you know what I mean? I think that's what the director was going for. And that's what happened to me when I watched it anyway. So, but yeah, and that's the other thing. Every player has a little bit of a different, you know, take on it. So cool. All right. So the White Heart. All right, we got D20 left.
Yeah, yeah. So plot hook. So this is what you
That's
need the
a
most of, but it's also
fifth.
it's a big swing. The swingiest of dice. So
So
give me a D20.
it was a 15.
15, a
Yeah.
moth-eaten, faded tapestry that seems to portray the party members on a quest.
Oh.
Ooh, I like that just in and of itself. A moth-eaten tapestry that seems to portray the party
So
members
the
on a quest.
prophecy is being fulfilled, right? So at the beginning we talked about this character. There was something about like learning to trust the ability, right? So this maybe is the aha moment, or right before the aha moment. This is a reinforcement of, this character who had doubts about her abilities and has met with impasses on the way and not 100% reliable magic. The outcomes are different, as they will be in D&D with the dice anyway. And now here's a kind of a, oh yeah, you're on the right path, because otherwise you wouldn't have gathered the cook, the butcher, the dishwasher, and on your quest, or you know what I mean, or this half rogue, half criminal, you would never have associated with this type of person. And yet here you all are painted on this tapestry, or sewn into the tapestry, which is even more profound, right? Because that takes effort.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
takes
yeah.
more effort than painting. It takes somebody stitch by stitch. You are fulfilling your destiny, right?
And I love the idea of like discovering that down in a dungeon that's been abandoned for centuries. Like
Yeah, there's
it was
no,
foreseen. It's like, how does
yeah,
this? What?
wait,
And because we started with a character who was afraid, like we thought they were faking and run out of town, which maybe they were, but like they were afraid of being found out as fake because they didn't have confidence that what they were doing was real, right? Especially as it's first coming online, between the swinginess of the dice and the fact that you have so many spell slots or whatever, the cyclical nature of the moon side of things. But like maybe they're not a fake, but they're maybe their fear is unfounded. I didn't
yeah, it could
consider
be
that until just
that.
now.
It could even be a more like kind of profound thing where it's like even our mistakes lead us towards our destiny. Like you can't regret your mistakes because they make you who you are. So if you didn't run from town to town, you never would have met these people. If you didn't participate in that, helping this guy get out of this dangerous organization, or navigate his problems, and he never would have joined the party. So that would never have happens, who dealing with this nefarious or unsightly, unseemly character that you never would have talked to. The fact that you did get down and dirty with, the different elements of society that you normally wouldn't associate with, that had to happen in order for the quest to be completed,
Mhm.
something like that kind of thing. Because I mean, think about it, like the classic D&D party, you got like your paladin, your magic user, your rogue. Like, how do the paladin and the rogue like stand each other? Come on, like there has to be you have to resolve that conflict somehow, right?
Mhm.
You have to. And if you got a warlock, now you got like a paladin and a warlock, like what the hell? What's going on here, right? So you got two different kind of divinities, going on at the same time, and so you got to be able to resolve that sort of thing. This is why the alignment system, I think, was like mostly abandoned, because there were people had trouble with this. They had trouble trying to navigate that. And if you delineate yourself, if you pigeonhole yourself and say, well, I'm chaotic good, so therefore every action I take has to fall into that quadrant, you know, or non-end, or I don't know what it is. What is it for nine? You have to fall in that hash mark, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, then that's not real. I mean, that's not complex enough for a human being. We're all over the board, right? I mean, sometimes I run that yellow light.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I have to admit, I'm pretty much a law-abiding citizen, but every once in a while I run that yellow light.
I can guarantee, I don't know who you are watching this, but you've committed crimes. Think about it.
And
You have.
oh,
I don't know. We're all
absolutely.
walking here, lawful or chaotic, but like we all think we're good, but we've all committed crimes. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, yeah, this is true. It's true.
And it
Yeah.
is, I had this flash of like the meta-ness of, I mean, meta gaming, but also like meta narrative of it all, of like all of this stuff had to happen because it was preordained, because there are forces that we do not quite understand pulling the strings here, and it's the players sitting around the table, right? Right?
Right.
We are the true gods of this land. Uh, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. That was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
That was a cool character. Yeah, thanks for sitting in on a sesh with the GM's Compendium of Explosive Creation. That was pretty awesome.
Do you have a names table?
Do I have a names table? Not in here. I have a
Okay.
traits. I have
Mhm.
maybe I should have had a names table actually, but I wanted this as wide open and system neutral as possible.
Oh,
But
okay.
there
Gotcha.
is there is an appendix here of character, like physical traits and personality traits, and whether you want to roll those because you won't have an NPC on the fly or you're doing it during character creation. But that I legit like that's on my DM's screen. That's in my Dungeon Master's kit now.
All
Like
right. Well,
list.
this is Celine Moonglow. So we'll go
Oh,
with
perfect.
that's her name.
Celine Moonglow.
Yeah. So anybody wants to use Celine in their campaign as a player character or NPC, you have my
Have at it. You heard it.
yeah, you can use them. Cool.
All right, go check out Pittsburgh Pat on YouTube. A lot of good D&D content and a
Yeah,
lot of
we have
good
fun.
geekiness. I will be joining Pat again soon to unpack our. Right now, we're playing some Dolmen Wood. We might be going back to 5e with the PHB coming out in a month or so while we're recording this, or while you're watching this, I should say, about 2 months from when we're recording this.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that's only 2 months away.
summer's flying by.
Phew.
uh, Pat, anything else? What's coming up for Pittsburgh Pat? What can
Life is
people
good. Pittsburgh
look for?
Pat's going to be playing the new set of the Star Wars Unlimited TCG Shadows of the Galaxy comes out tonight. I'm going to play a pre-release event tonight at the local game store, and I'll be reviewing some of the new gameplay tactics and techniques and things of that nature. I'm pretty much a novice, so if you're a novice too, you'll be learning along with me. So hopefully you have the same questions I do, and I'll answer those. And yeah, D&D content every day, pretty much every day. I
Nice.
post something like a little like D&D tip of the day. And I just do like a little minute, minute and a half kind of like, hey, if you want to like add some fun to your session, do this, and roll dice, add a Kraken, that kind of stuff. So yeah, you guys have a great day out.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for watching. Be kind, have fun. Links down below to everything we've mentioned and maybe some things we didn't. And we'll see you next time. See you next time. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.